We'll note it that we convene at 5:32. First thing on the list is the treasurer report and audit summary. Nancy?
What do I have to do? Do you have any questions?
No, you gotta read it.
It's in your booklet too in front of you, Nancy, if it's easier to read that way.
Do I literally have to read it?
Yeah. You do. Sorry.
No.
Page 6 and
Page 6 and 7. Do I just have to do the fund balance?
You do page 7.
So just the total?
Yes.
Okay, so in the general fund, there's $3,603,240.41. In the special revenue trust fund, it's $1,133,564.64. The special education trust fund looks like zero. And the debt service funds is $463,223.26. The long-term capital improvement fund is $2,260,953.43. Capital projects fund is $123.96. Food service fund is $324,188.28. And the community service funds is $218,863.39, for a total of $8,005,157.57.
Is that you guys? Okay.
Great
You know
job.
if we need to read the rest of the text on there or not. Okay, thank you very much, Nancy. All right, we're to the presentation of the budget. Most exciting part.
Yes, better believe it. I'm so glad you have something to eat. Get comfy.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Gerard.
She knows you.
You're trying to steal her donuts already.
I just steal my nose. Little kids.
Good. They don't need it. So we will talk tonight, just a reminder of the timing of the state budget variables and the timing of the annual meeting this year. Going over the revenue limit calculation, the tax levy calculation, a summary of tax bills from two different municipalities within the district, and then the budget in review for 25-26. So, in school district land, and I know you guys saw this in March, but just as a reminder, the 15th of October is the last number that we are waiting on statewide to set our final budgets and levies. That is an important date for every school district, and then pretty much after we get that number from the state, we can kind of proceed as we do. So Ladysmith and probably, I'd say roughly 40% of school districts statewide have their annual meetings in October. But because of the state statutes related to timing, we have to send a budget to the paper that is already out of date, right? So just as a reminder, tonight's meeting is going to have the final numbers so that you guys don't have to have two separate meetings. One on the budget that was in the paper and one on the final budget, because that would not be a good use of our time. So now that we have those final numbers, we're really kind of heading towards tax levy setting and approval. We're adopting the final levy. We have to go post that out to the DPI. We certify those to the municipalities, and then we have to report the budget to the DPI as of the end of November. So these are kind of the timelines that we're working with when we talk about the final district numbers. So your favorite formula, and the one that we pay such close attention to because it makes up such a large portion of our operating revenue. So this formula makes up, in Ladysmith, 78% of our total operating revenue. So we care very deeply about the variables that go into this formula and the assumptions that we use, kind of building future budgets and casting forward. So we take our resident membership, or FTE, okay, on a 3-year rolling average basis, times the per pupil multiplier, which is typically increased or decreased by the state biennial budget, plus any one-time or ongoing exemptions to give us the maximum amount of revenue that we can raise via 2 sources. So that maximum revenue limit authority then is split between how the state can cover that revenue limit levy, or the state can cover the revenue limit authority, and then what falls to the local taxpayer. So we use this calculation to determine how much, and then the state tells us basically who pays. Now this state equalization aid number is a focus. It's going to be a focus this year and next year because the state biennial budget, this past 25-27 biennial budget, did not increase the state equalization aid pot statewide. So it's the same dollar amount, it's the same pot of money, $5.8 billion as last year, that then kind of needs to get redistributed. Meanwhile, there's $325 additional dollars per pupil that is being added to our taxing authority. So if the lever to offset taxes hasn't been increased statewide, districts are going to typically see levies go up. I'll explain why that didn't end up being the case in Ladysmith and how we plan to address it. But that state aid number is based on property wealth per member compared to the statewide average. So how much property wealth do you have per resident FTE, and then how does that compare to the rest of the state? The idea is, if you have more property wealth per student, you should be able to cover a larger portion of this, oopsie, get excited, this calculation, right, wrong, or otherwise, that's the way the formula works. So Ladysmith this past year was a winner in that particular equation. And we'll talk about how that changes next year. So that tells us who's covering the local portion. Okay, so if the state covers roughly 7.8 million, the local taxpayer then is going to cover 1.4 million. Now, within this 1.4 million dollar revenue limit levy, roughly 400,000 is used to cover non-referendum debt service. And then the rest, which is roughly $1.001 million, is going to go towards that general, your general fund, really the Fund 10 portion, to cover like the general operations of the district. This plus the referendum approved debt levy, which can only go towards paying principal and interest on the debt service, plus the community service tax levy, which can only go towards programs that exclusively serve the community. All of these added together gets us to our total school-based tax levy, which is a $0 increase over last year. In order to calculate our mill rate, we divide that by our equalized property value. Equalized property value is also referred to as fair market value. Okay, so the fair market value of properties in the district, we use equalized value because it happens annually, versus assessed value happens sporadically and depending on the municipality. So this number is 16% higher than it was last year. So you may find yourself thinking, you know, which municipalities within the school district boundaries had 16% worth of growth, right? So again, that's kind of on that fair market value and how much of that is truly new growth. Think new taxpayers, new developments, versus inflationary growth. So we'll see the mill rate go down, the levy will stay the same, and so taxpayers will see taxes go up or down depending on the municipality in which you reside. So we do have a slide to kind of speak to that specifically.
So is that based on like new housing opportunities in the area?
Yep, so,
It can be, I mean,
So
anything.
like all the stuff they did down at the old elementary school would play into this.
That would add to the equalized private
equalized
property.
value.
So
Correct.
Overall, the whole thing, right? You can only pass on so much taxes, right?
Right, I understand that, but I'm just wondering, like,
so it can, mostly new growth, like you think about some like new developments that might be going in, new economic opportunities that are available in certain locations. So yeah, but that 16% growth that I referenced, only 1.7 of it was new construction. So think of that as new tax, truly new tax base. The rest was inflationary growth. So I gave you the 25-26 snapshot of the revenue limit and all of the the big picture numbers for our numbers and charts people. This is a 5-year look back. I also have it in a bar chart form for our visual learners on the next slide, but I think the most important thing that we've discussed at length, right, is that if we have declining enrollment, we will have declining revenue limit authority unless the state gives us a bump in some way, shape, or form, right? So you've got your current year FTE, you can see that it went from 749 to 688, so a loss of over 60 FTEs in a roughly 5-year period. And then that maximum revenue per member is the other one we care about, because if there are increases here, we may be able to offset some of what we're losing in kids. But if the increases here aren't enough, that we're only really raising another $50,000 in revenue, $100,000 in revenue on an annual basis. The cost of giving raises alone this past year was $100,000. Health insurance.
make it just a little bigger.
Oh, the text.
Karen can make it big.
Maybe.
I was
You
gonna say-
can't, Karen.
Do you need to move your chair closer?
put you up front.
Try Control Plus.
If you have it in your
Try Control Plus.
board
You
docs.
didn't do it? Should have, there it is.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
But now you can't read it.
That's fine. Just leave it the way you got it, or shrink it down.
I was gonna say.
It's not bad.
Let's say,
There you
yeah,
go.
it's a touch screen, so.
There you go.
Wow.
You can
Okay.
keep the donuts.
So I like to look at this revenue limit without exemptions, because those exemptions, in some cases, some of them are one time. Most notably, the non-recurring referendum that's in place, $600,000 worth of revenue limit authority, one-time authority during this 5-year period. So I like to look at the increase here, because this is the district's base building revenue without the exemptions. And in Ladysmith, it was not enough, right? Not enough to kind of cover. So 3 years ago, the district, passed that non-recurring operating referendum in order to increase the district's revenue raising authority. So we're in year 4 of a 5-year non-recurring operating referendum. So I know that we've discussed that piece of it at length, but I do just like to reiterate that 600,000 represents roughly 6% of the district's revenue limit authority. So that, what did I do? It got mad at us touching the screen. That was my fault probably. But that formula has, two issues when we think about our budget. It's got the declining enrollment.
You download, it's in your downloads folder.
We exploded it.
Well, it shouldn't have closed it. I spent a lot of time saying that. It should have.
Yeah, it just shut off on its own.
It's just overwhelmed with it was touched out.
Our guy, it's so big.
I told him to put his old man eyes on. That's what these are.
Yeah, I can do that.
There we go.
Okay, this is just that same table in a bar chart format, right? So of our revenue limit with all exemptions, that big blue outlined in red part is about to go away next year unless the board pursues a renewal of that operating question, either at the rate of 600,000 or more. Which it will likely be as costs have gone up and the state does not fund that revenue limit formula adequately. Okay, so I mentioned that the district's ability to raise revenue comes from the formula. We calculate the total amount and then the state says, here's what we can contribute based on your property wealth per member. So this is a closer look at the district's kind of 5 years of revenue limit authority and how much the state has covered. Okay, so Ladysmith receives roughly, it's always kind of hovered between 75 and 85%, excuse me, of its revenue limit authority. It has been covered by the state based on the property value per member in the district. Right, so this means that the state covers a larger share of that calculation. The reason you see it go down slightly in 22-23 is because that's the first year of the operating referendum. So a larger portion of the authority really just kind of fell on the local taxpayer the first year. Because it was a completely new authority, it was completely borne by the taxpayer in that year. It then kind of gets absorbed and filtered out throughout the subsequent years of the formula because, you know, it's no longer just on like the local taxpayer. The state will cover a portion of those costs. Why we note this now is because, and like I said, Ladysmith's property wealth per member, it's also dependent on how the school district spends its money compared to the rest of the state based on kind of those thresholds. So Ladysmith is aided in such a way that the more money it spends out of its operating budget, the more state aid it receives. So because the district has been able to levy extra for debt and pay off debt service, you know, additional principal and interest payments, that has benefited the district in the state aid formula. So it has provided additional kind of property tax relief that the district can then fill in with Fund 39 debt on the levy to prepay. So you can see how in Ladysmith's case, it benefits them to prepay that debt ahead of time. It accelerates aid into the district and then kind of allows that long-term levy stability that the board, you know, the community votes on and approves on an annual basis. So the revenue limit levy is one of the other levies that we covered, but I thought this would be helpful to see because of the state biennial budget and because I believe that this shift, the district is going to shift more towards property taxes next year because of property wealth per member and because of the state biennial budget. So we're not talking about 26-27, but I just want to front load that a little bit. Okay, so then looking at the next slide, this shows the district's levy and mill rate kind of by fund. So you can see, again, that's that 22-23, the first year of the referendum. You see that portion of the levy increase, but then it kind of slows over time as the state kind of covers more of that cost. But overall, the levy has stayed relatively flat. And the next slide actually is a 14-year history of the school district's property tax school-based levy. So the 14-year average of the school district of Ladysmith's levy is $3,438,546. The current levy is $100,000 below the 14-year average, which is remarkable.
Is that with the 500,000 or?
all of it, the non-recurring referendum, the debt. And that speaks truly to the district's overall levy management. And, the district replaced debt when it was falling off back in 21. And then managed this over time. The ability to do this is very rare and unique, and I don't know how long the district will be able to continue doing this because of the no additional dollars coming in from the state to offset taxes. You'd be eating into other opportunities, whether it's prepaying debt service or the general fund. So I think this is truly remarkable because it is so rare, and statewide we're seeing levy increases. Waukesha County alone, where I'm from, is seeing 10% on average levy increases for school districts in the area. So this is something to celebrate, certainly. As that, and also worth noting is that this levy, the levy for this year is almost $500,000 less than it was 10 years ago. So also kind of a point of celebration. Now, if you go to the next slide, does this mean that people won't see their taxes go up? No, it does not. All we can do is control what we can control, which is the levy, and we have not changed anything. We have not changed a single dollar, right? So we can't control that portion of it. And so you'll see what this chart does is the first column shows the levy by municipality. The second column shows the percent change from the prior year. Then the third column shows what percent of the levy then that municipality is covering, okay? So in the city of Ladysmith in 23-24, the district was covering 1.5 million of the $3.2 million levy. The following year, they covered 1.6 million of the $3.3 million levy. And now this upcoming year, they will see 1.6 million again, almost $20,000 less of the exact same dollar amount. I know it's different on the slide, but we all know the levy's the same. I don't know why it's doing that. But, so for the city of Ladysmith, you can see how same levy, different dollar amount by municipality. So city of Ladysmith residents may see their taxes go down in 25-26. They may, depends on whose property, right? If you put up a pole barn, you might not, right? But in the town of Grant, they paid $620,000 on the levy in 23-24. It went down last year. Okay, so last year they saw a property tax decrease. This upcoming year, same levy, but they will see a larger share of it.
Grant.
Oh.
Sorry, Justin, is that you?
Both of them.
All of us.
All of us. Okay.
Not me. I'm over
We
it.
happy to look at tax bills when tax bills come out, but it's a perfect use case, right? Because then you can see how, last year, city of Ladysmith residents, they had seen increases on their portion of the bill where town of Grant might not have, right? So we actually have two tax bills to speak to this exact point. So this upcoming tax bill is the city of Ladysmith. So this represents a 24-25 tax bill, okay? And I have this year's mill rate plugged in, but this is to help individuals approximate what their taxes might be based on fair market value. Okay, so I know you guys have seen this slide before, but essentially you'll take the fair market value. So if you pull out last year's tax bill, take your fair market value times the school levy rate, which needs to be taken out a few decimal points in order to get it like as close to the dollar that you want, minus the school levy tax credit, which is here, equals the individual's school portion of the levy, right? That's the other piece. If overall your taxes went up, what portion of that increase was the school responsible for, right? So this individual saw just over a $69 increase, a 12% increase in the city of Ladysmith. Now the next slide has an individual from the town of Grant. Okay, so same calculation, fair market value, but this individual actually saw a $124 decrease on their tax bill. So, same school levy, different municipalities, different impacts also based on your own property.
The town over there go up too, because they got land anyway.
So.
Which one did you ask about? So we can tell you. And it's available on the Department of Revenue, or the DPI. It helps us anticipate who might want questions answered about their tax bill, right? So I think, Jason's done a great job of helping to proactively break that down, and we learn every single year better ways to describe it, so hopefully this helps. All right, so we talk about all of that because everything that we're doing here, as dry as it may be, as much as we may want to put everyone to sleep, it does kind of keep the wheels of the programs and opportunities turning. So now we get to talk about the fun stuff. So I included this for, if you are being asked on the community, in the grocery store, what good things are happening in the district? What can you tell me about the budget? This is kind of the budgeted words that I think are things worth celebrating. $0 increase to the school tax levy. However you want to tackle that conversation as it relates to tax bills is yet to be seen. But so the biennial budget that we talked about back in June, we were talking about kind of all the things that could happen in Ladysmith and what would benefit us both. So if you recall, we talked about how important the special education reimbursement would be to the district. The state biennial budget did come through in that regard, not as much as most people would have liked, but it effectively allowed us to balance the budget. So the biennial budget really, in the special education area, allowed us to balance the budget, which is a huge win compared to what we were anticipating as of June. The district did make some staffing adjustments and realignment to make do kind of with the staffing on hand. The district provided competitive salary and benefit opportunities for staff, so increasing base pay as well as offering some, continuing to offer good benefit options and opportunities. Every administrator was asked to look at their own individual budget and find reductions. So every single admin department head looked to find efficiencies in their building, in their area. The district continues to tackle ongoing maintenance, has been doing what it can out of its operating budget, and you have to tackle these things. You have to tackle chimney repair. You have to, replace some other big ticket items as they come up in the school year. And the district has planned ahead in order to tackle those through Fund 46, which is huge. But some of these maintenance needs continue to pile up. And then this upcoming year, there will be a significant transition in the software land. The district is moving from Skyward, the current version, to cumulative, which will be an adjustment for everybody. And then it's also a financial investment in the future. So those are some words to describe the numbers that we're about to share. So the board approves the budget at the 2-digit function level, which to me is more descriptive than the 2-digit function level. Revenues are more descriptive than expenses. But the most important kind of areas to know, to me, are the line item, and actually, Carrie, if you click a couple buttons, it'll highlight the areas. I think I animated those. Yeah. So this is the local sources. So this is mostly property taxes. So line 210 is the property tax portion of the revenue limit calculation. These others are just some other local sources. They're not as a large share of the budget. Okay, so between the taxes and then the state equalization aid for line items, so 620, sorry, when I did that, that represents that revenue limit, and you'll really notice that what we lost 150 roughly here, we gained 150 here. It's just shifting between state and local. So, year over year, our revenue is down, but as it relates to that revenue limit formula, we're really just shifting who's paying for it. Another noticeable item or notable for us, so 300s, payment for other services, that's that open enrollment out, revenue in. So open enrollment for the last few years, the district is graduating off some larger open enroll in class sizes. So 17, 14, this year the district will graduate 23 open enroll in kids. And so as a result, the district will be bringing in less revenue in that bucket. So that's kind of a headwind that we're gonna be looking at. Looking ahead. No, that's good. So, like I said, the board approves the budget at the 2-digit function. This, to me, these are buckets, if you can read them, that are a little bit more, easier to understand, right? So we've got our property tax, we've got our open enrollment, our state equalization aid, high poverty aid, which Lori had asked about the last time. This just went away because of the biennial budget. It's not because the district, wasn't eligible for it anymore. It was just a change at the state level. ADR aid, per pupil categorical aid, that's another one that hasn't seen investment from the state government. And so as our enrollment goes down, any revenue that comes on a per pupil basis is gonna go down as well. So that's kind of the buckets that I think are helpful to understand the revenue side. And then this is the expenditure side. Like I said, to me, these buckets like instruction and support services aren't super helpful unless we peel them apart. A lot of the increases and decreases that you'll see largely have to do with staffing adjustments and insurance plan changes. So in 24-25, the district had 27 single and 61 family plans. And then 25-26, they had 33 single and 65 family plans. So not because the district has more staff, but because more staff are electing to take the district's insurance and the family insurance, which is more costly. So that will explain some of the increases that you see in like the undifferentiated instruction increases. The vocational curriculum, you'll see go up roughly 100K because the district did expand its programming, an ag teacher. So that's exciting, that's good for kids to provide that opportunity. But then some of the reasons why you're also seeing decreases in areas like pupil services, school building administration, that's also as a result of staffing changes at the district level. We did, as best as we could, attempt to buy ahead on some services, some software, like essentially what we could buy ahead on in order to defray costs in 25-26. We did do that in 24-25, so you'll see a slight bump. So we tried to prepay one of our Skyward invoices, but then we still have to pay, offset that. And yeah, anything that we could try to pay ahead on in order to kind of reduce expenses in 25-26, we did as well. Central services, we are on thanks to Jim, we have a robust technology replacement cycle. And so this year, we're going to be replacing 120 units for Chromebooks, replacing with interactive display screens as well. So that will be an investment in the district's technology that is planned for and scheduled ahead of time in advance. So we're aware of those expenditures and can plan for them. So that's also included in that piece. And then 430 instructional service payments, that is the open and roll out expense. So, open and roll out and voucher. So you'll see that is going up because, the per pupil dollar amount went up on the state funding budget level, and then the voucher exemption went up slightly this year as well. Okay. The next slide is the same numbers, but in different buckets again, so that you can kind of understand in more manageable or understandable, I think, chunks. So as always, our salary and benefits make up the largest portion of our operating budget. After that, really, it's typically our transfer to special education. These are all lumped like busing, utilities, capital objects, transfer to Fund 46. That's why this is, it vacillates so drastically from one year to the next. But really it's that salary and benefits, and then our transfer to Fund 27, which is largely going to cover salary and benefits. So really it's our people that is our largest cost. Okay, home stretch, Fund 27. So that transfer still represents roughly half of the Fund 27 operating revenue. This categorical aid reimbursement from the state is obviously significantly larger than last year, and the hope is that it will continue to go up. As that reimbursement goes up, our transfer to balance Fund 27 goes down. So that's a state biennial budget provision that's big for us. Then next is expenses. Sorry, over in my colors. So this is really as a result of the district's special education population and the increasing rise, not just in Ladysmith, but statewide, of special education needs. So there's a 10% increase in our special education expenditures this year, and without that increased reimbursement from the state, the district would have been looking at a deficit budget, certainly. Other exciting things and big buckets, debt service fund, so that's gonna include Fund 38, which is inside the revenue limit, and Fund 39, which is outside of the revenue limit. You'll be, approving those levies this evening. That's the largest share of the revenue. But the district has been able to, as I mentioned, utilize Fund 39 to keep the overall levy stable, keep taxes predictable as much as the school can control from one year to the next, and also save over $500,000 in interest over this period of time. So that is definitely something to celebrate. And then the next slide, that's our savings. The next slide is related to really Funds 46 and 49. So 46 is that capital improvement fund that the district can make a transfer into at the end of each fiscal year. 49 is the referendum project fund. That's done. So as of June, referendum done, and that's why you see those balances start to dwindle in those subsequent years. As I mentioned, the district continues to tackle all kinds of projects as best as they can in their operating budget, but Fund 46 can tackle those two on a more scheduled basis. And then finally, food service and Fund 80 community service. Those are, we're transitioning probably at the end of this year away from the CEP funding, and we're still evaluating the benefit of moving away from that as a funding source. It really has to do with the number of families that fill in free and reduced lunch applications. So we'll continue to monitor that, but then Fund 80 has also been kind of thriving and helping to kind of offset some district costs as well. So I think that was what I had in my highlights from the budget. Any
That was wonderful.
questions?
That might have been the best explanation I've ever heard.
Oh, that's.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Rob, did I miss anything?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just some follow-up questions to what you said. Just to reiterate on the capital projects fund, there's like $1 million budgeted for expenditures this year. What were those for?
Yes, so the district hopes to tackle some HVAC, piping, boiler issues that have been kind of lingering. I think we just got a final quote, so we're kind of phasing some of those projects as best as we can. We've earmarked at least $1 million. Some of that will go towards covering that, and then there's also I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this wrong, there's a breaker.
That's a different word for it, yes. Something, yeah, it's not.
Something really important at the elementary school that needs to get replaced. It was listed as like high priority, must be replaced, and so we've got that included as well.
And then were the number of special education students higher? Is that the reason why there was additional money coming from the state?
So in terms of why there's additional money coming from the state, that was something that superintendents, business managers, school boards statewide were advocating for. That was kind of what the message was to the legislature, is that you, the state, need to fund and reimburse these costs because our operating, special education students cost more to educate based on needs, based on personnel, based on state mandated requirements. So the message was heard, I think. They didn't reimburse at the rate that was largely asked for. So the state superintendent, and then other advocacy groups had different numbers, but what was set in the budget was 42%. We budgeted 39% because it's a some certain amount, which means that they're gonna they set the dollar amount, and then whoever claims it, they're gonna prorate everyone's payments after all is said and done. So we are conservative in our number for what we're getting for sped reimbursement. It could increase, but that would be cautiously optimistic. So that's the answer to your question about the state. Statewide, there are more special education needs. So like our number of kids who are being, we see the number of students with IEPs going up statewide, and then the needs within the school district of Ladysmith also went up.
Thank you, Ron. Any other questions or observations?
No, she answered. I checked them off.
Nice, nice. That's what we like to hear. Anybody else? Anybody else on the board? All right, I guess we're done with that portion of it, and we can adjourn the meeting. So, I guess we need a motion.
Motion.
And make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I don't know if that was necessary or not. Okay, does anybody need a bio break or anything like that?
Taking the donuts with me.
You should take a picture of me, then you can show your sons just what the guy looks like that.
This is who you took the donuts from.
Yeah,
They might not eat the donuts.
well, maybe I'll have them next time I see
Yeah,
you.
Darby's here. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Yes. You going all the way back to hometown tonight?
Yeah, if I leave now, I can make it by 10:30.
Okay, there you go. All right, a lot of deer in the road. All right. Okay. Ready to go? Let's call the annual meeting to order. 6:15, 16. With my old man eyes. Okay. I've got the privilege of giving a few remarks this year on the state of the school district, and I'm very proud to give that. because we've had many accomplishments. We've had some milestones that we reached. We had significant progress that included the completing of the major capital improvements to expanding the educational opportunities for our students. I'd like to take a minute tonight, highlight some of those. So let's start out. Hey, we got our capital referendum project completed. There's a $21 million capital referendum. That was an initiative that enhanced not only our facilities, but also improved a lot of infrastructure things that a lot of people didn't necessarily see that had to go into it. So it wasn't always the shiny penny that things got to be done. And that's such as we improved our safety, our security across our campus. We updated building systems, and like I said, infrastructure, plumbing, heating, things like that. There's still more to go that we talked about tonight, but when you got buildings, you constantly got that ongoing. We remodeled classrooms. Maybe in some cases, we expanded them. We improved the acoustics, and we allowed them more for our flexible learning areas in our classrooms, which is really cool. We also did improve some of the front of the buildings, like the public restrooms are much nicer. Our locker rooms are a whole lot nicer than what they were before. And our auditorium is really looking good right now. We expanded the gym space out there to accommodate the school programming. It is used for not just for our school or just for the in school, but after school activities and also the community use, which is really cool. We improved the athletic field. We got better drainage out there now, better safety. We got some new bleachers out there. We got a new press box. We got updates to the softball field. We replaced the aging parking lots. That's something you don't notice it. And if you drove in it one day and it was nice, you'd notice it. But when you walk in there now, it's just like, this is just thing. But that's a big thing. We also repaired the exterior envelope of all our buildings and the foundation of a number of our buildings to continue using them. So that was a big achievement. We've done other things. I'd like to highlight the financial stewardship. We continue to maintain a very healthy fund balance. And this allows us to do short-term borrowings so we don't have to pay high interest costs. The financial stability has been a testament of that fund balance to our careful planning and responsible management of how we spend our money. Because we take seriously our money as we are entrusted by the taxpayers to make sure that we spend that money good. We continue, I believe, on this board every night. We have to look for savings and efficiencies for what we need and trying to never compromise the quality of our education for our kids. As you know, that's very important. That is the most important part of what we do here, and this is what we do. I know on the board meetings, we talk all the time about the better ways that we can do it, whatever we can do with the funds and the dollars that we have. Because not only do we got the education programs that are along that, we always got it. Like I said, there's always more facility improvements. Every time we turn around, that's got to be done. I'd like to highlight the board commitment. You guys are all fantastic to work with. There's no agendas on here. I think your number one primary is to make sure we're good stewards of our facilities and finances. And once again, always focusing on the best quality of education of our students. I'd like to highlight, Jason, I think you're doing a wonderful job. We're trying to continue to do better communication to our public. This includes some of the printed district newsletter. And we refocus some of our social media effort to help us better tell our district story. Academic excellence and innovation. Probably one of the most important things we do. Our elementary continues to focus on the letters training, the science of reading, and the assessments and the requirements of Act 20. Teachers are starting to see some of the improvements because we're doing some good measuring things with the Ames Web to gauge our abilities and working on developing and focusing on interventions to help all of our kids, because all of our kids can learn and do better. The middle school has spent a good portion of their time focusing on the MTSS system with an emphasis on interventions and proactiveness to hopefully get out of that reactive mode. So I commend the middle school. The high school has been listening to new requests, or listening and doing an excellent job. We just relaunched, or we brought back the curriculum of agriculture, which is now going to be able to relaunch our FFA program. This hopefully will connect our students with all the important things of Wisconsin's agriculture heritage. We're working on our early expansion. We've expanded the 4K program to 5 days a week. Hopefully, this will give us a more comprehensive early childhood education, as we all know how important that start of our children is. I would really like to once again highlight the technology and career readiness. I think Ladysmith does just a fantastic job in our technology area. Our program continues to provide an equitable access to all technology for all our students. Our programming remains positive strength for our district and in preparing students for future careers. I'd like to take a minute to thank our staff, every single person in this school district, whether you're driving the bus, serving the students, teaching the kids, doing the admin work. It's just a fantastic job everybody's put in. We lost 6 valued retired members this year with over 100 years of combined service. We'll never truly replace them, but we have done a wonderful job in working and replacing them, despite the fact that many people don't know, but there's a good state and nationwide shortages of teachers out there. So we warmly welcome our new teachers and look forward to working with them. I'm trying to not give any individual here something because I'd miss everybody, but I would like to give a little shout out to Leo Leiball, who got Teacher of the Year by Russ County. I just highlight that exceptional educator who serves our students. I'd like to highlight some of the student achievements. Hey, we graduated our class of 2025 and sent them out in the world. There you go. I think that's a great thing. We don't often think that that's a big day. We did have some numerous student athlete achievements, but especially one, and that was Ashton Clark, who took first place in both the high jump and long jump at the state track and field. I'd like to highlight other student achievements, and I'd like to say, hey, you know what? Just one thing is the Spanish club that traveled to Costa Rica during the past summer, where they got a heck of an experience with learning the culture over there and the language. The next thing I would like to highlight that I think we're doing a lot better job at the last year since I've been on the board is our community connection. There's some new things that we've done. I'd like to talk a little bit. We continue to host the Life After High School Career and College Fair, welcoming over 40 to 50 business colleges, military representatives to connect with our students. We continue to work on inviting the community members and employers to our buildings to showcase our career opportunities, to share insights about their professions, and to help our students understand the vital connection between the education that they're getting here and what they're actually going to be doing out there in the real world. It's how many times the people go into buildings and no, my education never really helped me out at all but hopefully as we continue to do this, these partnerships will bridge us to get that done. The other thing that I'd like to commend on as far as the community is the Athletic Hall of Fame, inducting 10 athletes in the inaugural class. What an accomplishment. I know that we've had some people sitting in this room that put a lot of their personal time into this. Kirk, try out where you went. But it's a great thing. It recognizes our school, our community members, and celebrate the proud athletic traditions that we've had. Now, I don't have any, that much more, so. But
Very good.
as we look forward to taking all of these commitments, investments that we've done, we will continue to make our facilities and programs and positions better for our community and for our education excellence. Once again, I'd like to thank the staff, all the families that get their kids here and put their work in. All of you students out there, I know you're not here tonight, but I do thank you. The community, obviously the taxpayers that put this together. And we look to building a bright future for the school board or the school district of Ladysmith, where we can all be proud to be known as lumberjacks and lumberjills. So thank you very much.
Very good, Jeff.
I think we look good.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay, so now on to the annual meeting. And I just want to remind all the board members and that this is not a board meeting. This is a meeting of the citizens. After all that. So, I am not the chairperson. So the first thing we must do is elect a chairperson. Do I have a nomination for a chairperson?
Laurie,
Lori,
Rusty, I don't care.
you want to nominate Lori? What? Yeah, we can nominate.
Yeah, Ron.
I was gonna nominate Jeff.
No, we nominated Lori. I gotta do all the other, do you wanna do it, Ron? Since you're actually a person in the public? No? Come on, I think you should do it. It'd be cool to have a non-board member. I nominate Ron Freeman.
I second it.
Do we have another nomination? Do we have any more nominations? And one more time, do we have any more nominations? All right, all those, do we have a motion? Do you have a motion for Ron? We move to a unanimous.
Close,
You gotta close it.
close the nomination.
Okay, oh, that's right, we gotta close the nominations, thank you. I close the nominations. And do we have
I need a
a,
second.
Oh, a second.
do we have a motion to approve? Oh, it's right there, on the wrong page. Sorry, you guys.
That's okay.
There we go. Okay. All right, I move a unanimous ballot for Ron Freeman as the chairperson of the 2025 annual meeting.
Second.
All right.
All right.
Got that. All those in favor say aye.
Okay.
I don't think we need to do a paper ballot here, do
We didn't do that.
we? Okay. Ron, you got this thing? So we're on 5 right now. I don't think we have to do actually.
So, I'll read it and then
Okay.
move to approve the minutes as presented on board docs.
Go ahead. Do that.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the minutes as written. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any corrections or additions? I do have one. Under comments on the budget, it says Ron Freeman asked for few clarifications on the budget. Business manager consultant Elise Worm answered their questions.
Done questions, it should have been, that was in this table.
Okay, so,
Terry's got that typed up, we got that circled already.
okay.
Thank you though for putting that out, that was a good.
So,
Yes.
any other corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carried. Next is public comments on the budget. Is there any more comments than the ones I made? Okay. Hearing none, next is the adoption of the tax levy.
Move to approve a levy of $3,346,024 be placed on equalized valuation of real property of the school district of Ladysmith. $1,001,570 for operations, $2,192,204 for debt retirement, $152,250 for community service, and $0 for levy charge.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second for the adoption of the tax levy. Is there any comment, further comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried. Next is the salaries of board members, which is resolution B.
Move to approve, Move to approve the compensation for the board president and clerk be set at $1,800 and $1,600 for all of the board of education members for 25-26 year.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Nancy Burmeister. Is there any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, 9, resolution C, reimbursement of board members' expenses. Is there a motion to adopt resolution C?
Move to approve board members be reimbursed for mileage at the IRS rate per mile for use of their personal vehicle or school business and for school business and for expenses for public transportation, food and lodging while conducting board of education business. At the IRS accepted reimbursement rates and $100 per full day for attendance at meetings which cause board members to be absent from their jobs.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Jeff O'Lean. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried. Resolution D, establish a date for the 2026 budget hearing and annual meeting. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to approve the 2026 budget hearing beginning at 5:30 p.m. and 2026 annual meeting beginning at 5:45 p.m. to be held on Wednesday, August 19th, 2026.
Yeah, so if we get a
So that was-
second, then, no, we gotta get a second.
I'll second it.
Sorry. So that was the conversation we had to move the annual meeting on budget hearing up, so that would allow more time for us to develop that, and then we would just approve the final levy at the October meeting.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second to establish a date for the annual meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried. Next is a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn the 2025 annual meeting.
Okay, there's been a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Lori Keeble. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no.
There
Good
Thank
job.
you, Ron.
Thank you.
Good job, Ron.
Thank you. I looked on it, I'll pass. For now.
Can I come back to my chair?
You can have your turn now. Sorry, Carrie, I didn't look at that beginning of all the voting stuff, I should have. Right. After I said that speech, I got, Okay. You guys ready to go back in it? You need a bed for you?
No, I'm just gonna throw this away.
Ready to go?
Right in.
Let's go right into it. All right.
Hurry! Got 3 seconds.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. Roll call and names, please.
Nancy Burmeister.
Here.
Keeble.
Here.
Lindsay here, Jared Wheeler,
Here.
Jen Pearson.
Jen says, She got stuck at work today, and the day got too long, so she apologized so much. Good.
She needs a glass of water, so.
Yeah.
Mike Russell, absent, and Jeff Pelkey.
Here. All right.
Move to approve the agenda as presented on board docs.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. And do we have, we don't have any comments from the audience? No, moving right along. Recognition of school board, oh no, yes. I guess that's not really a motion, go ahead.
Just, again, it's just a recognition, thank you all very much. October 5th through 11th was School Board Appreciation Week. I know that it is a lot of work to be a member of any board. A school board is always an interesting position to be in because not only do you deal with the educational needs of all of our students, but you obviously also deal with the community who fund the programs and our facilities here. So again, School Board Appreciation Week is there to recognize you board members for all the work and time you put into this, meetings, long nights many times, emails, calls from community members, and then also just working with the administration, staff, and students, and volunteering your time for helping us make things go. So again, just recognition of that. I did also attach to the board agenda there just a proclamation from Governor Evers.
Very nice. You want to keep right on going?
Sure, I'll go. Next up is the annual safety drill. I will turn it over to the principals to talk about the drill that occurred.
Middle and high school was up first. Overall, the drill went very well. All classrooms that were a barricade did so. Everyone else evacuated. I was the intruder up in the tech ed wing. PA system worked exactly as it should. Everyone heard everything that was going on. One of the big things that will get addressed here is getting window coverings. So in talking with Dr. LeMay, we agree. We want to be able to see in classrooms when there isn't a situation, but as soon as we go into a drill or a real situation like that, that staff can come over and pull a tab and their windows are completely covered. That was one of the areas where you could look at an angle and still see into a classroom. So if it was a real situation, it creates a little bit of risk there. And then lighten the classrooms from exterior windows. And that's something that Mr. Serp had been working on, getting us blinds ordered to be put up on the exterior windows so you can't see in. Otherwise, everything else went very well.
Elementary, thought went pretty smooth. It's about 45 seconds. Everybody was locked down, barricaded, or evacuated as they should. We had a couple subs in the school on that day, and the kids knew exactly what to do and told them, here's what you do, and they did it correctly, so that was good.
Important stuff.
What's up?
It's important stuff.
So this is an annual drill. Families were notified of it after the drill was completed. The Sheriff's Department and the city police department was here to assist us. We will have another drill this spring. We also do discuss school safety during our when our safety committee meets, usually every couple months. So again, we'll continue to always look to make improvements. This report is just to be acknowledged by the board through this presentation, and this does get uploaded to DPI to show that we can conduct our mandatory drill.
Okay. Any other questions regarding? All right. Troy, you got this one?
Yep. Go to the second one. So AGR is for K through 3 actually, but we always just put K through 5 on here to show all the data. So the left column is the students below the 25th percentile in reading, and then the right column is in math. Looking over the last 3 years, the data is trending down, which is a good thing for reading and math. Reading's a little bit screwier because last year we used FastBridge in the fall, and then this year we used a different screener. So in looking at that, there's a few things. So the phonics instruction, I would say, has helped bring it down. One of the things that we found in our continuous research of how to improve is, one of the things that really helps drive reading is fluency. And so we have the phonics portion, but we need to get repeated reading down. And so we just actually had delivered this week decodable books that align with the phonics program we're using for each classroom of kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So those will help kids practice at the level that they're at. And then Miss Moore and Miss Baker have a plan for papers to go home, so we're not sending the brand new books home, that parents can work on with their child at home as well. Let's see. And then in looking at our data, I was once asked how many of the students like in 5th grade have been with us all the way through kindergarten through like 5th grade, for instance. And we do have a lot of new students that come to us that fall underneath that 25th percentile. And so that's something that we've been talking about as we looked at this data about 2 weeks ago, is how can we improve that, knowing some of these students are coming in that miss some of the foundational stuff that other kids are getting. And so there's a plan that we're looking at that would be, or a concept called Walk to Read, where kids are placed based on their skill level when they come in, not necessarily with their age or grade for a certain period and day. So they would be going where they need to be to get what they need, and not just putting them in a class because of their age or grade. It's been successful in some other schools, so our staff is looking into it, doing some research on it, and trying to find out more of how that would work within our school. We do think that the schedule we have currently would allow us to be able to make that time available for each grade level. So through 4K through 2nd grade, for sure, they would all have like the same reading intervention type period where they would go. So you could have like a kindergartner working with 2nd graders working with kindergarten, that would address the kids that are lower than they should be, as well as kids that are higher than they should be. So some of like the gifted kids or kids way above grade level would be challenged much easier in this format for the teacher to take care of. Departmentalization in 4th and 5th grade, talking with the teachers, they seem to like it, the kids like it. The teachers like that they're teaching the same thing 3 times in a day. So one of them's like, I would have had to wait till next year to make a change. Whereas now, the very next time I see the kids, I can make the change, and then I can change anything from there all within the same day, and then make notes for the following year. So they think that that's going to be helpful moving forward. And then they can specialize a lot more in the ELA side, whether it's writing, vocabulary, or in math, or science and social studies. So it allows them to be a little bit more efficient that way. We are also looking at curriculum review for ELA, and looking at the state approved list, and looking at possibly piloting some of those to see how those would fit within what we're doing. And then I was asked to remind you guys that we did get a book trust grant, which is putting books into the hands of all students at LES. Is looking at over on my paper. So it's over an $11,000 a year or yearly grant for books for kids. So every kid gets to go home with actual books this year. And then we are going to be adding a literacy tab to our school website, which will fulfill some of the auditing requirements, but that'll also have tips and ways that parents can support their child in reading when that comes out. And then looking at Project Read, getting that started in grades kindergarten through grade 2. I guess questions, I'll start with that.
I'm concerned about the high number of math.
Yep.
5th grade.
So in 5th grade, 50% of that 22, so 11 out of those 22 came to us well beyond the foundational years, I would say after the start of 3rd grade. So some of that's been doing some catch up there and getting gaps filled in. So
And is attendance issue of those 11 an issue as well?
Some of them maybe. I guess I haven't checked our new students and what their attendance was in past schools. Our attendance this year, it's in my monthly board report, but has been pretty good. We haven't had any truancy letters go out yet. We had one that we were looking at sending letters to, but called the parents, explaining the truancy process and the laws, and they were able to get doctor's notes for the 3 absences that they had, so that changed their status within the truancy process, and I think just calling parents, one of our secretaries took it upon herself to create like a half-page note, so whenever a student's gone, if the parents haven't called in, that note goes directly home to the parents, reminding them to call in if their child is out ill. So I think the education that we've been doing at both buildings seems to be paying off in that regard.
Thank you.
We are, I guess, with the math too, the other thing is, we talked about looking at math curriculums as well, and then looking at math manipulatives, and then looking at some vertical alignment with math. And then the other thing would be just looking at the standards and doing some more math professional development for our staff. However, we got to get through Act 20 requirements with the letters training, because that's required by law. So I think we're done with that. I think in January or February is our last day of letters training. So then our PD after that, we can focus more on math as well. But I do think in 4th and 5th grade, the departmentalization will help that. And the 2 teachers that are doing the math instruction in those grade levels are very passionate about math versus having all 3 teachers teach math across the grade levels. So. That's pretty much it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, administrative reports.
I volunteers tribute. A whole lot going on at LMHS. I'm gonna jump to some of the big stuff. Homecoming was, October 6th to the 12th. Student participation was up. It was great to see kids showing some school spirit, a lot less time with students taking their pre-range absences on the activity day on Friday. Participation was really awesome to see. And then Saturday's game was probably some of the best attendance I've seen in a game in a long time. The bleachers were full. Band did a nice job playing. The game didn't go as we wanted, but school spirit was running wide. And kudos to the Booster Club for all they did to put on their meal they did with the inflatables. A lot of community members that came in that really had no ties to the game or the high school at this point to come and participate and stick around for the game. So that was really cool. As Jeff alluded to in his State of the District address, the Hall of Fame banquet on Friday was awesome. I actually received 2 days ago a thank you letter from Dick Nervern, was one of the inductees, thanking us, and he sent a letter as well following it up. They both came the same day, so everyone that we've heard back from greatly appreciated. We had people attend from Idaho, Virginia, Hawaii. Like they flew in for this event, so it was well worth it. It's great to see the display is up and working now. The wall's done. Thank you to the tech ed class for that. The meal was great. And then probably the 25 or so athletes that gave up their Friday night to come in and help serve probably had an even bigger impact in everything that we did putting this all together. The alumni were so impressed that these kids gave up their time. They were polite, kind, respectful, and just did a phenomenal job. So kudos to those kids for helping make that event even more special for them to see kids giving back, because they don't always have a positive connotation of what our youth are doing right now.
They
So
also like to
that was
see the
huge.
king and queen of homecoming serving food
Yeah,
with their crown.
in their crowds. That's good. The next thing I'll jump to, we do have a Veterans Day program coming up November 11th. That is almost done. I have a preliminary schedule done there. I got to get some staff to check that over, but we'll be ready to roll. We had our initial survey sent out to staff on switching from trimesters to semesters. 50% prefer semesters, 29.2% have no preference, 16% would like some more information, and 4% would like to stay in trimesters. So I had a meeting on Thursday of last week to meet with my leadership team that kind of has agreed to step up and help as we go through this process and getting the ball rolling a little bit there. The next steps with that would be to send out informational letter to families and a survey to them in a Google form to get their take on what we're doing, and then really hit the ground running and try to get something on paper as soon as possible.
Does it really affect the families outside of school?
Not necessarily, but I feel it's good to give them a little bit of input on what's going on with their kids. At a bare minimum, to keep them informed what's going on here and changes, instead of all of a sudden, boom, it changes and you're going, what the heck's going on? I feel that's a big part of us sharing what's going on within these walls.
It could potentially, you have less time in class to do homework because your class periods are shorter, whereas in a trimester, the expectation is they have enough time to finish the homework in the class so the teacher can help them if they need help. That might not necessarily always be available in semesters. So it could impact them outside.
And it's looking at, is every student gonna have a study hall, or what's all that gonna look like when we're all said and done? I had a Heartland North principals meeting last week as well, and talked to some of my colleagues there that are in a semester right now that share schedules with us, so I can look at seeing what they're doing, what works for them, what can work for us, and just exploring every option we have to make sure we're giving the kids the schedule they need to be successful. We did have our college and career fair today. There were 54 vendors here, and it actually ended up being 12 schools. The people that were here had nothing but compliments, so kudos to Jay and Kyle for really throwing that all together and bringing that in. It was a really great experience. Also coming up, CISA 10, we're gonna do a STEAM presentation here, so that's a variation of STEM. CISA is gonna come here, Flambeau will come, and they're gonna have 12 tables, I think, set up for that, and do some STEAM activities with students so they can kind of see some of the hands-on in science, math, and kind of the technical stuff that's going on there. Okay, all staff have their SLO and PPGs in at LMHS, and I kind of laid out what our goal is. I'm not gonna go through all that for you, but we went big. Feel like setting the goal high, chasing the big goals and seeing where we end up is better than setting a low bar and getting there and not seeing a big impact. So the big thing is that we want 100% of students to show growth throughout the year, and doing everything we can to get students up one level at a minimum from where they're at now. I hit on the Hall of Fame. That kind of hits. We're wrapping up athletics. Volleyball finished their season last night here, and we have cross-country running on Saturday for sectionals. We have a chance to send a couple of runners through to state, so good luck to them as they go through. And I think that's all about what I'm going to talk about today.
How's attendance?
What's that?
Attendance?
Pretty good. We have truancy meetings set up. I had 5 meetings so far. 2 families showed up, so we're on top of it on what's going on, and we're sending, if a kid skips a class period, we're sending letters for it and filing truancy on it now. So we're starting to tighten it up a little bit more than in the past, where we're looking at it, sending that out, and really keeping families in the loop of what's going on with their kids.
How would you compare it to last year? Let's see.
Actually, I think it's a little bit better than last year. I feel like at this point I was almost double where I was right now. And then as the year went on, it got better. So I feel like we're at a better starting point right now. I'd have to look back for sure. For the next board meeting, I'll make sure I compare last year's and this year's.
Just wondering if the fact that you had less kids skip homecoming.
And a lot of those, honestly, a lot of those kids, they call in sick or they take prearranged absence.
Yeah, but you had less of those, right?
Correct.
So that means kids want to be involved in school.
Yeah.
So maybe we're doing something right.
I hope so.
Hayden made it the other days. Dad, I should be able to skip today because I've only missed half a day this whole year. No,
You're a month in, buddy.
Last year, we don't need truancy.
He needs a break.
Yeah.
All right.
Kirk, I would like to thank your Hall of Fame people and your athletic boosters for promoting homecoming and all the events going on, because that's what really gets our community involved when they know what's going on. Not gonna lie, very disappointed in the student council advisors, because I got numerous phone calls or text messages. Who's on court? Who's the grand marshal? None of that was posted anywhere for anybody to see. And they like to see pictures of the kids and who's like, oh, I remember when I changed their diaper or whatever, you know. And it's just something we have to be proactive with. Those advisors should be selling the school as hard as the school board tries to sell the school, or the athletic boosters.
Oh, that's great.
Shelley is doing a fantastic job with that.
I heard a lot of comments too about it. It felt more like a festival instead of a homecoming game.
And we're working on trying to get next year's date set, but the football schedule is getting flipped for some games because it was kind of messed up. I reached out to the Lakeland Conference Commissioner. We were going to some schools 2 years in a row, so we were gonna have to go to Webster, Unity, and Grantsburg next year. Like, that's 3 almost 12-hour trips back to back to back. So there was some flipping going on there, so we're trying to actually get it a little bit earlier. Sorry, you don't drive those anyway.
Could happen.
I suppose.
We'll wait to start the fire a bit later.
Yeah, hopefully the pile's not quite as big. Because I think that was 2 years worth on there, but it was hot.
It was
It
hot.
was
went
hot.
Was that that big pile that was?
It was-
It's gone now.
Been there forever.
Yeah, we torched it up and it was half an hour.
Mhm.
We were looking for logs to throw at it.
Got rid of some stuff behind the shop.
Little more would help.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay, very good. Joy, do you want, any highlights you want to touch on? Or
I would just
you
say
kinda
one of the
gave a
things that
presentation already
has
about
been
the work
going
you're doing.
better this year, I think, is we've had more parent meetings, like if we have behavioral issues with the kid, bringing them in on the front end. I guess one of the examples I'd say is we had one where the parents seemed to think we were there to kind of scold them, and it was, no, we're trying to work together to solve a problem, and you could tell in the middle of the meeting, the tone kind of switched in terms of, then they realized, and then they started offering suggestions and coming up with a plan that would work for the kids, so I think just that, and then if you come to our building now, you'll notice the front entrance is starting to look more and more decorated. We found a canvas that Mr. Miller hung up from Anita Lawrence, which Ms. Keeble is aware of. And each one of the frogs that was on there was for a specific person that donated money for a good cause back in the day. We contacted the family and they're working on getting us her picture and a write-up of what actually all happened with that, so that that can just be kind of like a tribute to that in our entrance there. So we didn't know the story, we just knew we had this canvas, and then somebody was like, oh, you wanna know what happened with that, so. And we're finding a lot of middle school yearbooks, and so Miss Moore is taking that on as a personal project to get those uploaded onto our school website, so for those that remember the
Yearbooks or
sponges.
sponges?
I don't know what the difference is, but those are going online.
It's not a yearbook, it's just all paper.
What year would you like us to look for?
Nancy's.
Like
Gary, were
We never were.
I don't try.
You graduated in 2012, right?
Right. My picture, found this when looking at sponges today. Thanks.
I think I won the biggest
Like
hero award.
kids.
You may have.
Yeah, the sponge was when Dave Schmidt was still teaching.
That's been a long time.
Yeah, but we had a little corner in there, it was like, who and who said what to who, and it was that little blurb, and the kids had no idea who was doing it until he finally admitted when he was done working with the sponge, he admitted that he was that mystery person all those years.
Okay,
And then for my report, annual meeting, we had that already. I'm just gonna highlight 2 things, the collaborative professional development piece. So Bruce Flambeau and Ladysmith had discussions last year to have a collaborative event. And so we set February 20th as that event. So what we'll have happening on that date is the 3 districts will come here to Ladysmith. We will be hosting the event, and it's a focus on AI and how to integrate it in the classroom, some other things teachers can learn how to utilize and so forth. And then in the afternoon, Bruce unfortunately is using part of this their conferences, but Flambeau will stay. And then we're going to break staff out by departments or grade levels and have kind of our own little PLC time across the districts, with the hope being that in the future, we can do more collaborative efforts together. And I've talked with CISA about possibly also expanding it to make it more of like a hub or an event here where we can invite actually like Holcomb or Winter or Birchwood, or like the other schools that are close to the area, to come here. We can have some sort of kind of rural, if you will, or Russ County-ish PD opportunities here, since many times the PD opportunities tend to be more towards Madison or the Dells, which it's hard to send people when you're at that distance. And the other thing I'll just bring your attention to is our 25, 26 enrollment. Elise did mention that in her presentation. The second page of my report shows you two ways to look at enrollment. One is the FTE, which is a little more complicated formula where you're taking like summer school or like 4K counts as 0.6 and then open enrollment in, open enrollment out, all those other pieces. The one that's I find usually more useful, so the FTE is used more for our funding, but when you're talking some of the other decisions we make, that second there is the head count, or I call it the butt and seats count. Those are the students that are actually here in our buildings. So that is students who enroll into our district, are here in our buildings. And as we can see, we have a decline from, if you look at the 4Kers, about 30-ish, and then you go down to our 12th grade, we have 67. So when you talk about what our enrollment falls, we do see a decrease in enrollment. We are not the only school district that sees that. Talking with neighboring districts, even and talking with, I have many fellow superintendents across the state that I communicate with. Almost everyone across the state is seeing a decline in enrollment. We're not alone. I think it's just more noticeable here in some regards, just because we are dealing with it all the time. Whether it's an anomaly or not, we'll wait another year or so and see what we see. Many times when you look historically, where you may see a dip in a couple of years, there's sometimes like events that are going on in the world, like the tongue-in-cheek answer, like in 2008 when the housing market crashed, you saw a dip in enrollment there. You also had things like now the kindergarten and the 4Kers are kind of those COVID babies. So was there a decline in enrollment or burst during that time? And so we'll see. Other things to take into effect as we talk enrollment, Rusk County itself is declining population in general of just people living here. Also, you throw into that mix, you have families that just have less children. I always use the example of my own family, like not me personally, but my father was one of 10, their neighbors had 15 children. So that was just a standard like family at the time. I'm one of 4, and now when you tell people I have 3 siblings, they're like, whoa, that's a huge family. And you get into my own personal family, we have 2 children, and we have friends that have 1 child. And so it's just that change over the course of time. Rural communities are also, you see it more, I think, prevalent in rural communities because those are also tend to be where you get larger families. The more urban areas typically still didn't have like those larger families. So it is something we are aware of, something that we do discuss as an admin team, things that we do discuss with, I discuss with Elise. With that part though, that's more the FTE portion because that determines our funding and it impacts us with what we get from state aid. The hard thing as you look at all this though is as we look at declining enrollment, some of those things, it's not always necessarily geared towards one specific grade level. It's, if we lose 20 kids, they may be spread out amongst multiple grades. And so it's not always as easy just to cut a certain program or cut a certain teacher because it might not all be in 2nd grade or it might not all be in the high school. And in high school gets trickier because you have to balance programming you're offering with the licensure of the teachers and then what opportunities do you have. But we will have to be aware, and as a board, you'll have to be aware of this because it does impact our overall budget and what we can offer. But otherwise, the report I have for you there is a lot of it was already covered and or is stuff you get in my weekly report too.
Okay. Board member shout-outs. I have one personal one, go ahead here. I went skydiving on Saturday.
Did you?
Jumped out of a plane at 10,000 feet.
Oh, geez.
You all right?
It was the most wildest thing you could imagine.
Exciting too, or just plain wild?
Jeez. I'm still going, my adrenaline still hasn't come down.
Where did you go, Claire?
That was down south of Madison.
Oh,
We're between Milwaukee and Madison. It was crazy. Crazy.
the kids put you up to that?
Yeah, Michelle did.
Yeah, well. Paybacks are really.
She did too.
That's impressive.
It was crazy. All right.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented on board docs.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? All in favor? Or no, we have any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Move to approve the 25-26 school tax levy of $3,346,024 as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Move to approve the 25-26 budget as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Move to approve the Start College Now and Early College Credit Program course request as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So all of these courses are available to any of our kids? This is a lot of fun.
Yes, sometimes though they do pick multiple courses, they may not enroll in all of them, but because of how it works, they have to basically like select, and then what happens is our students get like, I hate to say last choice, but they fill them up, so if there's spaces or spots in them. What we are trying to work with, and this is going a little off topic here, but we are trying to work with the technical colleges next year, that they would be able to offer some of the courses for us with our schedule, and then we would see kids who just would enroll in the courses, but they would all be with Bruce Flambeau, Ladysmith would all offer the same period of the day to have it. But some kids you do see, yes, register for multiple courses, does not mean that they necessarily will take all of them, but they're selecting what they may try to enroll in, because it also depends around their own personal schedules.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Move to approve leaf grants as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, anything you want to talk about, or does anybody want to?
Super excited to see the elementary Fab Lab.
Yeah.
I think that's way cool to get those kids introduced to
Well, that is cool.
the technical stuff at an early age like that.
We went with the name Fab Lab because that opens up other funding opportunities, so.
Yeah.
Very nice. And the rest of them too. Obviously, the Educational Enrichment Fund Board and all the people that work on that give to it. Big show. So, all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Move to approve the closure of the LHS Bear Club and Mayor's Youth Council activity accounts.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any other discussion?
So I'll just mention both of these accounts have been inactive for quite a few years. And so what will happen is the Bear Club looks to be something more involved with like the trail and that stuff. That money will go to the account that is used to help offset some of those costs. And the Mayor's Youth Council Activity Fund will be moved over to the middle school, high school PBIS account. So again, similar areas that can utilize those funds, otherwise those accounts just basically have sat inactive for 5-6 years or more. And so again, we try to clean up those accounts because those also get noticed by auditors of like they're just sitting there. So if the monies aren't being used, try to utilize them in other ways.
How much is that?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's a couple $100 each. So also not, it's like they're not large amounts. If they were larger amounts, we'd probably have more conversations. But again, those are those accounts that the auditors do question, like, can you have like $200 in this account and spend 5-6 years, you're gaining, change of interest or pennies of interest on it.
Any more
The mayor's
discussion?
and the mayor's though was a larger one, that was 6,000, but that one has not been utilized. So again, the high school can utilize that for programming there that would, I think, meet the same needs that they're looking for.
Okay. All those approved say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Move to approve the resignation of Lucas
McCarrick.
McCarrick as middle school football, flag football, and high school assistant baseball.
Do we have a second?
Second.
The only discussion I say is board members, you notice that we're not going into closed session today. No need, so. All right, any other discussion regarding the resignation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Upcoming meeting dates. The November 5th one, you guys, I gotta be in last, so I am gonna attend virtually.
And then Elise will also attend virtually. Debbie will be here in person. So we'll still plan. We'll most likely just set up the room a little bit different. So then we're closer to the screen, but it should be just fine. There, at that one, like I mentioned, Debbie will kind of lead that meeting for us.
We'll have the heat on by then, right?
Yes.
And so.
It'll be on, it'll be on.
It's gonna make it a
This is
lot.
how we balanced our budget.
You know, and I just got done talking about how that referendum improved the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
You received the person received the email already, and I mentioned that we had the board, so I'm sure it'll be working well.
I can almost feel Nancy's ear chatting.
That's what she keeps saying. She's the second one. Get out of here.
Any other discussions about the upcoming meeting dates?
Another one on the 19th.
Yeah, and then another one on the 19th. And December 17th. Thank you. All right. I move to adjourn the meeting.
The second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Nay.
Done.